Hi, it's Alan here, back in my electronics cave again, talking about the next mod that I made to my Pink Triangle DaCapo D2A converter. You may remember from previous videos that I said that actually the clock circuit in D2A converters is one of the most important parts, and Pink Triangle put an awful lot of effort into what's sitting underneath this metal box here. Now, most D2A converters get their clock signal from the audio signal that comes from the CD transport, and they effectively reconstitute that into an even clock. And that, as you can imagine, is quite difficult because it's a mixture of multiple ones, multiple noughts in all sorts of different configurations and orders. So it's not a nice clean clock signal. Now they get around that by using a phase lock loop in order to lock onto that signal and provide an internal clock, but that actually can be fairly prone to jitter, particularly if you're using things like an optical input. Now Pink Triangle did actually provide this D2A converter with optical inputs, but I have to say that I don't think they felt a great deal of sympathy with those who were particularly wedded to optical inputs. In fact, this is one of the optical input cards created by John Westlake, and I don't know if you can see, but this is one of the original optical input cards for this converter, and they actually called it the horrible optic because actually optical inputs are notorious for having different latencies on the rising and the falling strokes of the LED. So actually it makes clock recovery extremely difficult. So to get around that, they basically used BNC for most things, but they also had an extremely clever idea. What you can do, as well as trying to recover the clock signal from the CD transport and from the music, instead of that you can actually generate a clock signal actually internally within this D2A converter. And they did exactly that. You can see this is one of the input cards they had here, and there's actually a clock on this card. So what they've done here is actually they output the clock signal from the D2A converter into the Pink Triangle cardinal transport, and then via a separate cable they then basically just take the digital audio signal back. So it means the clock signal to all of this circuitry here is extremely clean, and it's not going very far at all. It's only going a couple of inches. That's really good news. Right, there are two problems with this. First of all, the cards that I had for some reason didn't work, so I've actually had to recreate one of those optical output, one of the digital output cards that creates the clock signal. But I thought I could also improve on the original Pink Triangle card there quite considerably. I've used extremely low jitter crystals. I've also used a separate independent power supply, and I'm using an analog device's very, very low noise regulator that feeds power into that particular circuit there directly from a power regulator elsewhere on the board. So it means that now my clock signal in here is extremely high quality, much higher quality with much better components than were available to Pink Triangle back in the 90s. So I think my clock signal is an awful lot cleaner than it's ever been in Pink Triangle DaCapo D2A converters. However, I still had a problem. Getting hold of a cardinal CD transport is extremely difficult. So somehow I needed to take a standard transport that I could get and modify it to make it clock lockable. And that's exactly what I've done. I have here a standard Arcam Alpha 7 CD transport. And I had a very close look at the circuit board on this Arcam Alpha 7, and you can possibly just see here that here's the clock crystal in the Arcam Alpha 7 CD player here. It's just here. And actually that feeds the clock signal to all of the circuitry through a header pin here. So what I've done is I've actually added another board on here that allows me to take the clock signal from my DaCapo D2A converter, feed it in via a custom designed card that I made here, fit it onto this particular Arcam board, and then take the standard digital audio output signal from the Arcam and feed that back into the DaCapo. So effectively I've taken a standard Arcam Alpha 7 CD player and allowed me to clock lock it back to the DaCapo. And the result, I have to say, is absolutely fantastic. I'm really pleased with what I'm getting here. It's extremely clean, it's very beautiful, it's very sweet. The treble is incredible, the clarity that I'm getting is amazing. I'm really pleased with how this is working out. In fact, so pleased that I've decided that time has come to see if anybody else is interested in any of these mods. And actually I've now started selling on eBay the power supply unit, the audio lock cards here, and this clock lock mod for Arcam Alpha 7 CD players. So if you're lucky enough to have a DaCapo D2A converter, but you really want to get the best performance out of it, have a look at eBay UK. If you just look for Pink Triangle DaCapo, you'll find this mod, complete with the card, and you'll also find this mod for the Arcam Alpha here, so that you can pick up yourself a second-hand Arcam Alpha 7 for next to nothing, and you can lock it to this fantastic D2A converter. Really looking forward to seeing how this works up on my main hi-fi in a moment. From the tests I've done so far, it's absolutely stunning.